as we explore the land of the Bible.
It was on a road like this that Jesus carried his cross, and archaeology is proving the accuracy of the Bible. I'm standing here on the Mount of Olives, overlooking Jerusalem, a place loved by God and referred to by Jesus as the city of the great King. There really is no place on earth like Israel. I've always been told that when I visited, I would never read the Bible the same, but it's affected my life in other ways as well, especially in the way I see my Savior. Jesus has become more alive to me and more real than ever before. And it's my prayer that as you watch these bonus videos we've created called Israel Moments, you'll experience the same thing. During these short segments, it's my privilege to interview Amy Turnage from the Center of Holy Land Studies. She loves Israel, and I can't wait to hear the wisdom and insight she'll share each week as we explore the land of the Bible, delving into the history and the culture of a place people call the Fifth Gospel. Amy, I am so excited to be here with you. I have waited this whole time just to talk to you more about Israel, because being there is just such an incredible thing, but getting to talk to someone who's dedicated their hearts to the study of this land, I'm excited that each week we get to hear from you. So today we're going to talk about Israel, the fifth gospel, and it's a term that I've heard used, but where did that come from, that idea of the fifth gospel?
It came from a person named Saint Jerome who lived in the 5th century AD, and he stated that 5 gospels record the life of Jesus. 4 you will find in the scriptures, and the 5th you will find in the land they called holy. Open the 5th and the land will open up to you, is basically what he said. And what he means by that is the land, and going to the land and studying the land and the culture and the language and the literature opens up the other 4 gospels so enormously that it cannot change, or entirely changes all that you know of Jesus. And
it really does. Yes. I mean, I'd heard that all my life, and I think it's so sad. It took my husband and I 30 years before we got to go to Israel ourselves, and now after all these years of teaching, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have had that experience early on. But maybe it made it even more precious because I had this lifetime of Bible knowledge that all of a sudden I'm in these places that I know around that area this took place. And you know, I was going to ask you about that, because a lot of times as we visit different sites, we'll say this is where this happened, and yet we don't always know if that's actually the place. And yet there are some that we can be fairly certain.
Yes.
How can we know that these different places may actually be the spot where these things happened in the Bible?
Specific locations of things that happened in the Bible, if they date from the Byzantine period and earlier towards Jesus or earlier than that, it often is accounted as a good possibility that that is where an event occurred or happened.
Well, this whole idea of a fifth gospel really is true, because as I'm walking and I'm seeing this land, Jesus is coming to be so real to me. And it's been a prayer that I've had. You know, Lord, I don't want to just know about you. I want to know you. And so much of knowing a person is knowing their history and knowing about them. And so this land is so amazing. This fifth gospel not only kind of tells us about Jesus, but really the whole of the Bible. Why do you think Israel is so significant itself?
I think it's where significant events happened in the Bible. It's where the Exodus occurred. It's where Jesus rose again. And its location and history is important. You've got Mesopotamia on the north, and Egypt on the south, and the Mediterranean on the west, and the desert on the east, and it had a major trade route that would run through it. And so where else for God in this little tiny country to put his message where it can get out to the entire world? You've got port cities on the water, and just major trade routes ran through the country, and it really impacted and helped spread the gospel.
So fascinating, because it's just this little tiny strip of land.
It is small, very small.
And yet it is the site of 3 religions considered holy, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. And it's also a site where there's a lot of conflict. And I wonder if that isn't because it is God's chosen place, and that the enemy would love to kind of obliterate it so that we don't have a chance to really study it and make it our own. You and your husband have given your lives to the study of Israel. And how did that happen for you? What brought you to that place?
Well, for me, and I brought a little thing along to show you, since I was a little girl, my mother, she had gone to Israel when she was in her early 20s, and she picked up this necklace here. It's called a Jerusalem cross, and I love the story behind it. But when I was little, I'd sneak in her room and I'd put it in my hands and I would just hold it and almost pet it like it was precious. And it has little stories on the back of the scenes of Jesus. And I can never not remember seeing this necklace, and now she gave it to me. But I would say that's what got me to Israel, but also the story she told me with it, because it has the 4 crosses, which means spread the gospel to the 4 corners of the earth.
It's beautiful. And now you guys spend your life not only studying it, but taking groups. And what's it like to take those groups of people and have them experience Israel for the first time?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, does it get old? And I would say no, because I have to refocus myself. But I always like to watch people also experience it for the first time. And I know what's coming, and I know what they're going to see. And I get very impatient for what's coming down the road for them. But it's wonderful to watch them. But also to remind myself each time I go, not to take it for granted, but to learn the lessons myself each time as well.
So this might be a little bit of a hard question, but how has Israel been a 5th gospel to you personally?
I would say in so many ways. I've walked the land. I didn't have a car when we lived there, and I actually had children there, so I did walk uphill both ways, usually. No, in all of the weather. So I got to feel that part of it. I got to go into all of the areas and really feel what it was like, maybe for the people who lived there in one sense. I was able to go sit in the north in the Galilee and just rest and really sit and reflect on the fields in front of me and imagine Jesus walking there. And so I don't know how it can't change and affect you, even going one time, to be able to see what it...
Well, I totally agree. I don't think that I will ever be the same because of my time in Israel. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us today. Well, I wish we had time to show you every beautiful spot in this country and explore their biblical correlations. It simply isn't possible, but I hope that somehow through these Israel moments, you'll get a sense of this amazing place, but more importantly, a better understanding of the amazing man who walked here. For it is Jesus I want you to meet in Israel, for it's Jesus that we need.